The day I caught my fiancé cheating 2 days before our wedding. So, I've told this story on Reddit a few times but figured this subreddit is the obvious place to get it out of my system. For reference, I'm now 31, male, but this happened in 2014 when I was 26 and my ex-fiancée was 25, female. Let's call her Barb. We met in college and dated for 3 years prior to our engagement with a wedding date booked by the 4th year. Neither of our parents are well off financially and she was attending grad school, so the financial responsibility fell on me, which totaled $20,000 that was paid in full 4 days prior to the wedding. Leading up to that nightmare of an evening, we had our typical mid-20s relationship issues with bouts of poor communication, excessive drinking on weekends, and an occasional fight over trivial BS. Aside from that, we had a great relationship and spent a ton of time together figuring out post-college life and planning for our future. As I said above, the wedding and reception venue cashed my check 4 days before the wedding and the contract stated this was non-refundable. Over 120 guests were confirmed, a couple dozen from out of state, tuxes and bridesmaid dresses were fitted and paid, and everything was falling into place. Now let's get to the inevitable tragedy of events that you're all interested in before I keep rambling. The night in question was a Friday evening in our new apartment that we'd moved into a few weeks prior, and we decided to have about a dozen friends over to pre-game and head out to the bars in town. Included in this group of friends was my buddy whom I've known since kindergarten, we'll call him Ricky. Barb and I had spent a lot of time with Ricky over the last 3 years and he was definitely one of her favorite one of my pals, which is generally awesome when your SO gets along with people in your social circle. The night started at a local hooker lounge that was bring your own bottle, so by the time we left there, a 1/5 of Jameson and 30 rack of Yingling were gone and everyone was buzzed. The next 3 hours were spent between 2 to 3 bars that resulted in the entire group devolving into a drunken, belligerent mess. Once the bars closed, most people went home with the exception of myself, Barb, Ricky, and another couple who came back to our apartment for a nightcap. Once back at our place, the couple only lasted another 20 minutes before calling it and making their way home. So I was left with Barb and freaking Ricky. Earlier in the night at the hooker bar, I noticed Barb checking her phone more than usual, and simultaneously Ricky checking his phone after she would lock the screen. I almost put 2 and 2 together, but why would I worry about them planning anything shady 2 days before I was supposed to marry this girl? Back at my house, I was fairly sober and noticed all the booze was gone, so I was contemplating picking up a couple of 6-packs from a local spot that stays open until 3 a.m. Barb and Ricky were definitely on the liquor and tanked, but there was no reason to suspect anything sketchy would occur if I ran out for 20 minutes. Once in my car and preparing to exit my apartment complex, I got a sinking feeling in my gut that something wasn't right, and it completely freaked me out. So, I called my best bud and he agreed to be picked up and join me on the beer run and accompany me back to the apartment. After grabbing some Bud Heavies and returning home, we walked up to the sliding glass door that led to my living room that had a sectional to the immediate right. We opened the door, took 2 steps inside the apartment, and my ex-fiancé was completely topless and mounted on Mr. Ricky freaking tonsil deep down each other's throats. The amazing part of the situation was neither of them appeared to notice that my buddy and I were 10 feet away watching their sloppy, drunken escapades. After 7 to 10 seconds of attempting to comprehend the current situation, I lost it. Dropped the booze, threw her backward off Ricky completely topless, and landed 2 hard right hooks to Ricky's eye and cheek while he was still laying on his back with the most terrified look on his face. To put things in perspective, I am 6 feet 220 pounds and have played hockey my entire life. He is 5 feet 6, 140 pounds and a runner. Immediately following the assault with my fist, Ricky started snoring, didn't know this was a thing, and was asleep for at least 5 minutes while I was losing my mind over the situation. Without thinking, I called her parents about 10 times until they woke up and demanded they come to pick up their cheating daughter immediately. Their house was only 5 minutes down the road, so they walked in shortly thereafter while I was laying into Barb about her unforgivable, disgusting decision. Her parents frantically walked into me screaming at Barb, Ricky passed out on the couch, and my buddy mediating the situation. The first thing I told everyone was the wedding was freaking off. I demanded the ring back and said I'd rather lose $20,000 than spend the rest of my life with a cheating wife. Her parents spent the next 20 minutes attempting to talk me out of it and occasionally defending Barb's actions, saying things like, "Why can't you forgive her?" Or, "Isn't it too late to cancel the wedding?" Meanwhile, Ricky woke up and the right side of his face had swollen to the size of a grapefruit and his left eye was completely shut. Kicking him out of the apartment was tough because he was too drunk to drive, so I called his brother that was 20 minutes away and spent that time laying into Barb, Ricky, and her parents. Surprisingly, I was able to stay level-headed enough to express my thoughts in such an extreme state of rage. The few times I've been this upset in the past, my brain felt like it was scrambled and I had a hard time condensing and forming my thoughts into logical statements. Not this time. By the time Ricky's brother picked him up and Barb's parents shuttled her home, I had systematically picked apart any objection, opinion, or plea for reconsideration expressed by everyone in the room. It felt really freaking great. I'm not going to pretend the following months were easy and everything worked out in my favor. 2 months later, the pharma company I worked at decided to lay off my entire division. I had racked up thousands in credit card debt to pay for the wedding, unemployment haunted me for 5 months, and I was diagnosed with major depression. Life was screwed up for a few years and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but now that I'm 31, things have settled down and I couldn't be happier. Thank you for letting me get this off my chest. TLDR. I walked in on my ex-fiancé cheating on me with my good friend 2 days before our wedding, and it freaking sucked. Cheated right before wedding. It's been a year and I'm not over it. I'm not sure why I'm posting here. Maybe for advice or just reassurance that I'm not crazy. I've been married for a year and some months now. A month before our wedding, my husband went to a glory hole. I came home one night and found him crying in the bathroom. He told me immediately and said he would understand if I left. At first I thought he was joking or that it was some kind of test, but it wasn't. I endured the humiliation of driving him to have an STI panel done. He didn't have a car at the time. I remember sitting in the waiting room trying to be as small as possible. The nurses were in an enclosed glass area checking people in. After he went back, one of the nurses gestured towards me and said, "Does she need to be checked in?" Another responded, "No. The guy that just went back. That's his wife or girlfriend or whatever." I almost felt worse in that moment than when he broke the news. Ha! His panel came back negative. I called off the wedding but changed my mind. He reassures me that it wasn't my fault and that it had nothing to do with me. He was just being stupid. That I shouldn't internalize this as a self-esteem thing. I listen and try to let it sink in. I believe that he is genuinely sorry and doubt he would do it again, but am unable to not let it be self-esteem thing. Crap. It's been so long but it still pops into my head. I've been trying to feel better about myself for years but it's like all my progress was erased. I can't let myself feel too good because the thought will come. How can you be attractive when your husband cheated on you? I thought because I didn't feel anything on D-Day or the weeks after, that it wasn't a big deal and I'd moved on. I guess that's not the case because my insecurities are still worse than ever. I almost cried at Target after trying on a swimsuit last week, and it's impacting my ability to trust him when he's with his friends. I try to relax and not be clingy but it's challenging because I know I'm not enough. There's been no infidelity since then. Weirdly enough, I don't really think about it when we're together. When we're eating dinner, laughing, watching TV, or cuddling or making love, it's the furthest thing from my mind. But when I'm alone, when I have the apartment to myself or during long quiet times at work, it creeps up on me. I feel stupid for feeling bad for hours at a time when nothing has changed around me. It's just my negative thoughts. Wedding season is also starting, and it's stirring up a lot of feelings I've tried to let go of. Shame that I couldn't keep it together a month before ours, and embarrassment about the wedding itself, for reasons unrelated to the cheating. Some of my friends are getting married soon and they're asking me for advice. Pretending that I'm super happy with how our wedding went is painful. I am tired of reliving the negativity of that whole time period. I've seen some estimated that it takes 5 to 10 years, or more, or never, to fully recover. That's a frightening idea because I feel like I should be over it already. I don't have another woman to be mad at. It was the most impersonal way he could have done it. He did everything right after. I am worried that I'm fixating on it and driving myself nuts over nothing. Is it reasonable to still have negative thoughts? Can a person ever return to normal after this? Unfaithful on our wedding day. I've been married for a year and a half now. Our relationship is not doing well and hasn't been for a while now. A lot stems from what happened on our wedding day. I have 2 kids from previous relationship and we have one together, 11 months old. The morning of our wedding, while I was getting ready with the girls, my then fiancé was at home receiving naked photos from the girl he had been texting for a while. Someone he has a history with. In another relationship they got caught sexting and such. Throughout the day, during our first peek, and waiting for the ceremony, unbeknownst to me, he was texting her. All freaking day. I know this because 3 days after our wedding, on my birthday, I went into his photo app to see pictures from our wedding. I accidentally deleted one and went into the deleted section to get it. He was beside me. This was not a malicious thing. In that box were pictures of this girl's private parts and her pleasuring herself. He panicked, grabbed his phone, and deleted their messages. I never saw them. He first claimed wrong number, then claimed a friend sent them of some chick he was seeing. Eventually it came out who it was. I pulled up our phone records and sure enough. Lots and lots of messages throughout the day, and months leading up to it. Lots. Last one was 13 minutes before we got married. While I'm nervous and excited in the other room. He's texting another woman before heading to the altar. How do I get over this? I know I don't have the full truth. He claims she just sent them for no reason. That doesn't happen. It was mutual. He brings it up in fights that I have not worked on this, that I need to take steps to fix this, and that I'm not progressing as fast as I should be. He also said it's expired now. I can no longer be upset. My first marriage, our wedding, our happily ever after. Anniversaries just make me sad. Weddings make me sad. Seeing grooms being so attentive to their brides and not noticing anyone else makes me mourn my own wedding. If it was any other day I think I would get over this. Edit. I can't thank you all enough for the advice. I am leaving him. No idea what to do or how to start. I found more pictures on his phone. A different girl. Super recent. I feel like I am drowning and everything is crashing in on me. What the hell do I do now? I'm also feeling embarrassed. I don't want to tell my family. I am so angry with him for doing this to us and our kids. My 32 male, fiancé, 27 female, cheated 2 months before our marriage. Well, my story begins with me and my girlfriend being together for 2 years. We were madly in love and after that span I proposed to her. We were both ecstatic and began our wedding preparations. To give a brief background. We are Chinese and a part of our subculture is to have a Chinese ceremonial wedding, wherein we exchange ceremonial dowries. This was already done and in the eyes of many we were already married, and now we just have to do our legal marriage, and a Catholic wedding in the church. As the weeks go by, we began wedding preparations and invites. Getting numerous suppliers, meeting our families, and organizing our wedding since we planned for it to be an out-of-town location. This is when we began hanging around a new group of friends. Back then, I noticed that she was getting close to this guy but I never thought about it because I was so busy at work, my fiancé doesn't work, and also we are engaged and that I never thought of any malice. I know a lot of guys would hit on my girl and had no problem her always hanging out with him going out to the gym or whatever. After a few months, it was time for her bachelorette party which was held out of the country. When she got back, she then revealed to me that there was some drama during the trip, and that she became depressed and sad because for some reason the wedding was not that exciting anymore and that we were drifting apart. Admittedly, during the past months, because of work, I've been really busy and when I get home I just play a lot of games and don't talk to her that much. She was saying to me that I was not the same and she was sad about our relationship. Because of this, I decided to step up and spend more time with her. After a few weeks, she mentions that for some reason something weird happened between her and the guy I was walking about earlier, and she decided that they can't be friends. I got so weirded out and asked what happened. She dismissed it and said she just got confused and after some pushing, admitted that they kissed and that's it. This is when the gears in my head started grinding. One time we had dinner outside and I went to the bathroom. When I returned I saw her texting and I had a weird feeling, so I grabbed her phone. It was her and him texting that they will always have a soft spot for each other. However, she told him that they can't be friends. It was at this moment that I told her that she has to stay at her place for a few days while I process this new development. I then called some of my mates and we had a drinking session. So I told them that I think my fiancé is emotionally cheating on me. As the hours went on, the guys became drunk and just leaked some info about what they have been hearing. I've pieced the information and yes, it looks like she really did cheat. I then called her bridesmaids and with the context on what they were saying, I surmised that something indeed happened. The news hit me like a truck and I was devastated. I called my fiancé and asked her why she cheated on me. She basically said she got confused and one drunk night something happened, but she stopped it. My friends said it was already a few weeks. I was devastated and my parents found out and of course they told me the wedding should be off. My fiancé at the moment still can't grasp her actions and has been relentlessly trying to get to me and say sorry, and that she will devote her life to make it up to me. It's becoming a bit hard now because my family now hates her guts and even our common friends are angry at her. I miss her so much and the happy memories still make it hard for me to completely leave her. What is your stand on these things? I find it so absurd for someone to cheat weeks before a wedding. However, it's so hard because no matter how bad it is you still love the person so much. I'm depressed and never been this sad my entire life. She was my everything and logically speaking I should let go of her. TL, DR. Fiancé cheated on me on some douchebag loser 2 months before our wedding. All behind my back, because of me just becoming busy and the guy just having all the time in the world to spend with her during the day. Been with my wife for 5 years. Married this year. She's been cheating for 5 months. 23 male. I married my wife 5 months ago after having been with her for 5, mostly up, some down years. Our relationship isn't perfect, but I love her more than anyone in the world. I've never been with anyone else. Physically or emotionally. We own a house together and have no kids. I found out last night that my wife has been cheating on me since right before our marriage. She first slept with the guy 2 days before our marriage. The second time was shortly after our marriage. Outside of this, she has done a few physical things and has been texting/sexting the guy. I feel pain that I didn't know possible. Everything that I've found online about how people after finding this out is true. It's devastating. I feel totally betrayed. I'm here to ask what to do next. I know every situation is unique, so it's hard to find good advice for my situation. Last night we finally took the time to sit down and have a long discussion about an ongoing disagreement we've had this week. The conversation eventually got around to distrust and how she is not completely open with me. Once before we were married I went through her phone, out of boredom, because it was sitting on the couch by me, and I found that she had been telling her close friend a lot about our relationship. I wasn't comfortable with our business being shared, it's between us, so we talked about trust and I asked if she would keep our business between us going forward. Since then, she's been extremely protective of her phone and starts wiggling any time I touch it. She asks why I need it. After that first conversation where I confronted her about what she texts people, she continued doing it anyways and deleting the messages afterwards. She lied about doing it, but eventually caved and admitted to still doing it despite knowing that I wouldn't want her to. Since we had been having a disagreement this week, I asked if she had involved anyone else in our disagreement. She said no, but I had an uneasy feeling about her answer. I checked her phone, and she had no texts within the last week except me and her mother. She texts people more than that, so I knew she had deleted some messages. I decided to log into our phone service and look at her messages. What I found was crushing. She had texted this same number nearly every day this week, about 20 times per day. I traced back the number to someone at work, her, the guy, and I worked together. Turns out, she's been in a relationship with this guy at work since right before our marriage. The first time she slept with him was 2 days before our wedding. Y'all. This hurts. I'm not perfect in our relationship. I haven't had previous experiences to learn from. I'm not always nice to her. She does a lot for me. She had slept with 2 guys this summer before I met her, she wasn't a virgin, and that took me forever to move past. I had eventually accepted that those things happened before we met and I can't control it. But this is different. She betrayed my commitment to her for the first 5 months of our marriage. I will be honest. We had some bad fights right before our marriage. I told her that I wasn't sure if I wanted to marry her. She felt devastated. I get it. It was partially my fault. But I don't feel like I deserve this. I don't know how to trust her again. She lies to me if she knows I'm going to be upset. She clearly hides things from me, despite my begging and pleading. I don't want her to ever see this guy again, but yesterday she told me she loves this guy. She said she still has feelings for him, even right now, but they aren't as strong as her feelings for me. How is that even possible? Shouldn't she be begging me to stay right now and expressing her remorse? Why is it that she just keeps repeating that she messed up and that I have every right to leave her? She seems to be so focused on the fact that our relationship is over that she isn't trying to salvage it. I asked if she would stop working there if I asked her to. She reluctantly agreed. She mentioned that she had been thinking about how to tell me about this, and she didn't because she wanted to stay with me, but every outcome pointed to us not seeing one another ever again. She does things for me that I fear no other woman ever will. She would be an excellent mother for my children. I fear losing her because I don't want to be lonely. I will never find someone as beautiful as her, and I don't know if any other woman will do the same things for me that she does. I want to love her. I want this to all go away. I want this to have not happened. She keeps telling me that she isn't begging me to stay because she doesn't know how I could forgive her. She says that she doesn't deserve forgiveness. She says that if she could go back, she wouldn't do it. She says that she wants to be with me, but she has no hope that it is possible. Anything helps.